In medicine, we're trained to trust numbers. Heart rate. Blood pressure. Not unexplained noises, cold chills, or the feeling of being watched when no one's there. Talking about anything supernatural. That's considered unprofessional. Our job is to save lives. Not to wonder what happens after. But maybe, just maybe, ignoring the unexplainable is more dangerous than acknowledging it. And what if the things we can't explain are the ones we need to listen to most? Most doctors would laugh at the question. I used to be one of them. My name is Matthew. Like any medical practitioner, I believed in science. In protocols. In getting patients stable and safely to the hospital. That was all that mattered. Until the night I met Elliot. I was working with Jenna, my partner, for over a year. It all began with a call around 1 a.m. They said it was a man in his late 60s, chest pain, living alone off Route 9. I remember it was freezing cold and the roads were coated in ice. When we got there, his porch light was dim and flickering. The fog wasn't moving much, it just sat there, heavy and still. We stepped in and saw Elliot, drenched in sweat, breathing shallowly. His skin looked ghostly pale, and his hands trembled over his chest. His pulse felt weak, irregular, like his body was already starting to give up. We moved fast. Got him onto the stretcher, started the IV, hooked up the heart monitor. Jenna jumped into the driver's seat, and I stayed in the back with Elliot. About 15 minutes into the ride, something changed. He didn't pass out, he was still awake, but he went still. Like, completely still. And then his eyes. They locked on the empty stretcher across from him. Not glanced, locked. Like someone was there. Sitting. Watching. I tried to shake it off. Thought maybe he was confused, hallucinating. Until he spoke, in a soft, calm voice, like he was describing a memory. He just kept asking if it would hurt. I stopped. Mid-task. Mid-thought. I looked at him. Who are you talking to? I asked. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he gave a slight nod toward the empty stretcher across from us. Then he said, "That man, he's young. Maybe 20. He says he wasn't ready to go." He paused for a moment, eyes still fixed on the empty space. "He's alone too." And something inside me clenched. Not from fear. From recognition. The way he said it, quiet, distant, like a messenger delivering someone else's final words. It hit me like a cold wave and I froze. There was something in the way he said it. It was like a memory that didn't belong to him, but was somehow alive in his mouth. Words spoken with a strange familiarity, ones I'd heard before. Not recently. Not from him. But from someone else, someone whose hand I held as life slipped away. His name was Jamie. His injuries had been catastrophic, beyond repair, yet somehow, he remained awake and aware but utterly terrified. His lips were bloody, trembling as he tried to speak. Every breath was a struggle, but he used it to ask the same question, over and over, "Is it going to hurt?" He was desperate for an answer I didn't know how to give. And now, days later, a dying stranger was repeating that question, word for word, as if the fear had never left. A flash of memory overtook me, sudden, sharp. I was back in the ambulance. The ECG stuttered like it was unsure. The sirens outside. They sounded too late. The dim overhead light flickering against Jamie's terrified eyes, followed by a silence so thick it felt like the world had stopped breathing. Jamie was gone. We never made it to the hospital. But this wasn't just memory. It didn't feel past. It felt alive. Close. Like it had followed me, as if it had simply lingered in the silence, waiting, and had found someone new to speak through. Elliot's blood pressure was crashing. The heart monitor stuttered, spiking with erratic rhythms. But his face. He looked calm. Almost peaceful. And then he turned to me. His voice, barely a whisper. "He said you stayed with him," Elliot murmured. "You held his hand, after." He blinked slowly, as if caught between two worlds. "He remembers the way you stayed." A chill passed through me. "Jamie," he whispered. "He remembers you." Elliot's eyes then focused on something I couldn't see. It went against everything we're taught to believe. It can't be him. He shouldn't be here, but he is. Somehow. Some part of him stayed. The answer is something you won't find in textbooks, or medical charts. Sometimes, the only way to understand, is to stay with the story. So keep listening. Now back to the story. That night, after Jamie passed, I didn't let go. I stayed with him, held his hand. It felt wrong, to let him slip away alone. Even in death. And now, I couldn't stop looking at that space beside me and Elliot. It didn't feel empty anymore. Elliot was stable by the time we reached the hospital. But I didn't leave with the team. I couldn't process what has just happened. Out of habit more than reason, I opened the lower compartment beneath the stretcher. It's usually empty. Just a hollow space. But this time, it wasn't. There was something inside, a folded hospital gown. The same kind Jamie wore that night. But this one was damp. And worse, it carried that sharp scent of antiseptic. I unfolded it carefully. Inside, pressed flat as if ironed into the fabric, was a single-used heart monitor sticker. Still sticky. Still fresh. And across it, in shaky, childlike handwriting, were 3 words, "It still hurts." I recoiled, dropped it like it burned. But then, I saw more. Beneath those words, in the same jittery scrawl, just barely visible under a faint bloodstain, were 3 more, "I am alone." I left the gown where it was. I shut the cabinet. And I walked out of that ambulance without looking back. Elliot passed away a few days later. Peacefully, in his sleep. A nurse told me. The very next night, I came back to the ambulance. Just to do inventory. Routine stuff. But when I opened the back doors, I stopped cold. Because written on the inside of the glass, even though there was no condensation, no frost, were the words, "Jamie is not alone anymore." I just stood there, staring. My heart was pounding in my ears. I stepped closer. And just like that, the writing vanished. Like it had never been there at all. It's been 5 years since that winter. I don't ride in ambulances anymore. I took a desk job. Something quiet and safe. Sometimes, on those long, quiet drives at night, I catch myself glancing into the rearview mirror. And when I do, I see it, a shape, sitting silently in the back seat. Sometimes, without thinking, I find myself humming that same quiet tune, the one I sang for Jamie after he passed. I don't stop. I don't question it. Because somewhere deep inside, I already know, someone is still listening. Maybe it's Jamie. Maybe it's Elliot. Or maybe, just maybe, 2 souls who were once strangers found each other in the silence I left behind. One was afraid to go. The other, afraid to stay. But now, wherever there is, they're together. No longer alone. And maybe, neither am I. And if you've ever held someone's hand at the end, or wished you had, then maybe you aren't alone either.